Hello, and welcome to When They Popped. I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Mary, and I was really excited about today. Kelsey and I streamed Paris and Nicole, the Encore on Peacock. It's a 3-episode trilogy, if you will, in celebration of 20 years of The Simple Life. Kelsey, did you have any idea what this was going to be going into it? Like, you were the one who told me it was an opera. I was like, it is? Like, I thought you were joking.
Well, obviously, I had to see what the streets were saying about the special, and I saw some of the reviews were kind of like, did we really need this? I don't know. But as soon as I heard it was an opera, I was like, God damn, sign me up. Whatever. I mean, honestly, they could literally stare at a wall for 3 episodes, and I would eat it up because their chemistry together is just so good. I was smiling the entire 3 episodes. Like, even Mike laughed out loud.
Oh my God. I completely agree. I kept saying, like, this is great reality TV. And it really was. So we're 20 years post Simple Life now. This is a monumental anniversary. And this special little trilogy was created to celebrate Paris and Nicole's lifelong friendship, along with the show that really catapulted them into the public eye. You can literally go back to maybe our 2nd episode if you want to get our take on The Simple Life. Please forgive us, though. We have come a long way as podcasters since then. So for this episode, we thought we would kind of go through each of the episodes of the special. And let's start right with episode 1, titled, Should We Do an Opera?
Mary, should we do an opera?
Honestly, I'm not
opposed. When they popped.
We need to come up with our own sanasa.
When they popped.
So this episode,
Mary doesn't like it.
I'm workshopping this, but so this episode starts off with the girls basically saying that they want to turn their original song, Sanasa, into an opera.
Sanasa, 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 sanasa.
And it's just so funny. It starts right off with them like pitching this idea to some sort of executive. And she's like, when you think of Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie, you don't think of opera. And Nicole is like, you don't?
When you think about Nicole Richie and Paris Hilton, you don't go to opera. You don't?
Her deadpan is genuinely my favorite thing in this world. She's just so funny.
So funny and hasn't lost it over the years. Hasn't skipped a beat. So the girls sat down for an interview for this documentary and explained that this was really inspired, again, by the anniversary and also just the fan demand. Like, as we all know, nostalgia is in, and The Simple Life is one of like the best reality TV shows of that era. Like, period, the end. No questions asked. Now, Nicole revealed that she had not seen the original Simple Life since filming, which is wild. But like, honestly, it seems to be like a common trend amongst celebrities. I can't say I blame them. I would not want to watch myself either. I can barely listen to myself. But Paris confirmed she watches it all the time, which I thought was hilarious.
Oh my God. Paris's signature baby voice was on full display here. She even said The Simple Life is the only show she watches. I just love her. I don't blame Nicole for not wanting to rewatch because it did seem like in rehashing some of these memories, Nicole was very regretful of some of her behavior.
Nicole was mostly the troublemaker, and she had a few moments, that's for sure. So when asked like how they came up with this idea, apparently, according to Nicole, her and Paris met up last January to eat some tacos and rewatch some of the episodes from the glory days. And it just felt like natural that they had to celebrate the show. It was never like, we want to shoot a reunion or anything like that. Nothing that formal. It was just more recognizing the experience they gained in filming The Simple Life. And I mean, they really got to experience America in a way they never had before by doing that show. So then when asked, okay, you're going to do this, why an opera? And honestly, in this interview, Paris and Nicole could not give the interviewer an answer besides, it's so random, it's perfect, in the words of Paris. And honestly, that is so them. And nothing would make more sense to me than them doing a freaking opera.
I know. I loved when Nicole said, it's very us to dive into a world we know nothing about. And she did say it's very on brand for them because that's exactly what they did with The Simple Life. And then she was like, you know, like many things, it started out as a joke and then it became serious.
Seems like most of their hijinkses together. What is hijinks plural?
I would just leave it as hijinks. I think hijinks in itself is plural.
All right. I like that. So next, I really enjoyed this scene. I thought this was funny. The girls head to a brunch with the OG Simple Life producers to kind of reminisce and just brainstorm, get some ideas. And when asked about their own favorite memories, the producers like, what are your favorite memories from the show? Nicole mentioned Arkansas, and she just thought their time there was so special. Like no one knew what they were doing, and it was really all trial and error. And we learned that Paris was literally ready to go home after the first night. Like she was crying. She was like, I am done. They had no closet and no mirrors. And one of the producers said that they promised them a rolling rack and they decided to stick it out.
I mean, the fact that Paris needed a mirror or the deal was off, like, that's hilarious to me. And also, I respect that. And I wish that they showed us that. Like, I
You're
think
like,
that would have been so funny.
why did that get cut?
I know.
They also recalled a lot of other funny moments from The Simple Life, like Nicole stealing a cop car. And one of the producers was like, I literally had a warrant for my arrest out because of that. How about Paris falling off the horse? They were like, we're like Tom Cruise. We do our own stunts, which I thought was cute.
The stealing the cop car thing was next level. And they even asked her, they're like, did you think production placed a cop car there for you? And it became clear that no, Nicole didn't think that it was a part of production. She just thought it was okay to steal a cop car. And like production would just clean up any mess that she made, including a potential felony.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me. She was a little bad back in the day, but we also learned something that nobody knows about The Simple Life. They asked them to share a story that viewers wouldn't know, and Nicole revealed that she started chewing tobacco during season 1. She goes, when in Rome. And apparently Paris tried it too. So that's funny. So they break the news to the producers that they're going to do an opera to, celebrate the 20 years. And the producer's reaction is, of course, hilarious. They're like, oh, fantastic. And then in their confessionals and interviews, they're like, this is terrible. This is never going to work. And so to get some inspiration, the girls decide to go back to Altus, Arkansas on Sliv Air, aka Paris's plane. And they need to revisit it with, adult eyes and get inspired for this opera. And they were talking, they were so excited to see the Lettings, their host family from season 1. And they were so appreciative that they opened their home up to them. Like Nicole is like, I would never be able to do that. Like, that's a lot to ask out of a family. And, I was a little bit bummed. The Lettings did not want to have the cameras in the house for this reunion, which I just would have loved to see them again,
I wanted to see little Braxton. I was so bummed we didn't get to see him.
I know. He's got to be like over 20 years now because this show is 20 years old. Like, that's insane. So the girls land in Arkansas. They want to bring the Lettings a gift for their reunion. So they swing into Walmart on their way into town. And it looks like they're riding a little like electric sitting scooters into the store.
I think they're suitcases. Like I see people scooting around on those at the airport all the time. And I was peeing.
Oh, okay. That's what it was. Okay. That makes sense. So they're going to Walmart. Do we even need to get into Paris and Nicole's history with Walmart? Like, if you're here, you know the wall quote.
Do you guys hang out at Walmart? What? I've always heard that people hang out at Walmart.
Why?
I don't know.
What is Walmart? It's like they sell wall stuff?
And how it's really a full circle moment because they go and buy a bunch of gifts for the Lettings at Walmart. And it's like Paris Hilton cookware. And she's like, and it's now sold at Walmart, a full circle moment. So at first she doesn't know what Walmart is. And now as a mogul, she has all of her products in there. So bravo to Paris. They also run into some fans at Walmart and they take selfies. It seems like a really cute, sweet exchange.
They take selfies where they're sitting on their suitcase scooters. It's
Yes.
so funny. The scene of them scooting out of Walmart with basically everybody in the store like swarmed behind them like they were little queens in a parade or like in a procession. I was laughing out loud. I thought that was hilarious.
They were singing sanasa too, I think.
Why wouldn't they? They're planting the seed.
Of course. So the next day, they're planning on meeting with Veronica, the mayor of Altus, who was the mayor when they were there 20 years ago. And it is revealed that apparently she had a ziplining accident the year prior. So Nicole's like, oh, we should probably get her a vibrator.
Okay, so the mayor of Altus, unfortunately, we heard, had a ziplining accident about a year ago. So I was thinking about getting her a vibrator.
Like, she just says that, like, that's so obvious what you would get someone who had a ziplining accident. Like, just classic Nicole Richie humor. She is such a shock jock, and I love it. But so they take us back to the interview chair. These girls are getting interviewed. There's some cuts back and forth. And we honestly get the question of the century. The interviewer asks, can you define for me sanasa? Like, what is sanasa? And what the girls say, it's the song that they wrote when they were kids. And yes, it is a song, but it's also a vibe check and a feeling of happiness and joy that Paris and Nicole have sprinkled around the world since they were 2. But to be frank, they said, they did it on The Simple Life, but they never really expected it to ever make the show. Like, why would it? So we cut back from the interview to the girls being in Altus. And the girls are heading into town the next morning, and we see them kind of like loading up their car with gifts to head into town. And they seem to be leaving a hotel. And my spidey senses went up. I'm like, I wonder where they stayed that night. It did not look like a hotel you would expect to see Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie in.
One thing about Mary, she is particular about hotels. And I love that this is what you thought about watching that
I
scene.
was like, where did they stay? But mysteries. So they get into town, and their first meeting is with Mayor Veronica. And she actually gifted them with the pink truck that they drove around in from 20 years ago. I could not tell if it was actually the same truck, but they sure acted like it was. And Nicole also offers to reimburse the town for dumping bleach on the pool table. You guys all remember that from season 1 of The Simple Life when she got drunk at Alligator Ray's and defaced the pool table. I honestly kind of expected that she would have done that already. I don't know if this is just for the show. Like, it just feels like something that production would have paid for, or that she would have paid for later. Like, I was just not sure about that. But they tell Mayor Veronica that she is welcome to sing in their opera. So come one, come all. They're casting already, and they go out in the town and hang up their Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie street signs and have the most awkward run-in while doing this with a now older man that they kissed when they were working the kissing booth in season 1. They were standing there awkwardly, and Nicole's like, we think about you all the time.
Good to see you again.
Nice meeting you.
We think about you all the time.
And it was just perfect.
That was the part that Mike laughed out loud at because he was just standing there stone-faced. He even said, nice to meet you. And I could tell like the wheels in Nicole's head were turning, and she definitely wanted to say something like, like you seriously don't remember us. But her just saying, we think about you all the time was like the perfect thing to say.
She is a comedic genius. So they're out there hanging the signs. They also took the time to retake their Simple Life cover photo where they're holding that pitchfork. I just was obsessed to see them retake that. And then they had their meeting with the Lettings, and they reflected that it was really amazing to see Janet and Albert again. They said they look exactly the same besides Braxton because he's all grown up now. And they were just really happy to get that kind of private time to be able to thank them and reflect on the memories. They also visited the milk farmer. I did not get his name down, but as Nicole says, like, I know that voice anywhere. And something about this man's voice is like, girls.
Girls, you can't be spilling that much milk.
I recognize that voice.
His voice sticks with you. And he gave them like some souvenirs. They were really scared he was going to be mad at them because that's when they went and like sat in the hot tub and they spilled milk everywhere. That was a tough assignment for them. And he gave them some like souvenir milk jars and even their old time cards that he's held on to over the last 20 years. And they brought him some oat milk as a gift, which is hilarious to bring to a dairy farmer, and a bestie bracelet as a gift. And while he rated them 3 on a scale out of 10 as employees, they got 10 out of 10 for most fun and best hair and best outfits.
That was a sweet moment. You could tell they were a little tentative. And he even
Yeah.
told them that they got him in trouble with the health department because of that episode. I mean, these girls really left a lasting impression for better or for worse on this town and the people who let them work on their property.
I know. And I mean, they had this really sweet moment with him, and all is well. Everything is forgotten. Proverbial fences are mended, and they're leaving this milk farm, walking past this man's cows. And like just after this milk farmer had done a really sweet interview talking about how far these girls have come and how he thinks they've changed for the better, we heard Nicole whisper, "Should we let all of them out?" Like regarding the cows. Like she's still such a little troublemaker. And again, just had me in stitches this whole trilogy. And so next, they go back to the infamous bar, Alligator Ray's, the one bar in town. And this is where Nicole reunites with her old flame, Anthony. They made out on cam on season 1, and he came with his wife.
Oh my God, I was dying when they showed the clip of them making out. I was also dying when they like addressed the crowd and Nicole was like, I noticed there's a pool table missing and I'm sorry for that, referencing her pouring literal bleach on top of it in season 1, which it was just so funny. I feel like she genuinely really felt bad about that.
So, as Kelsey said, they're kind of like hosting a night at Alligator Ray's. Like a lot of the old faces turn up, a lot of the town seemingly turns up. It's really cute. It seems there's no bad blood for their mischief back in the day. Everyone just seems really happy that they're there. They hand out a ton of like pink Paris cooking equipment to everyone as like gifts.
The Paris cooking equipment just kills me.
I know. She's just like handing it out to like big burly men. Like,
here's a ramekin that says that's hot on it.
I know. This is why they're so funny together. And they just realized being in Altus that sanasa is an international sensation. Like everyone there knew it. It was beloved. Everyone seemed to get the sanasa vibe in Altus. And so it was kind of in that moment, I guess, that they decided it deserves to be an opera.
Yeah. Whatever. There's a very thin, storytelling thread that pulls this all together.
Yes.
But I think episode 1 was really just them reliving their glory days, going back to Altus. So they fly home, head back to the Hollywood Hills, where they go see their middle school band director, whom they credit with inspiring their love of music and therefore this opera that's forthcoming.
And they tell him he was one of their favorite teachers because he like got their vibe. And he seems really touched, though, when they tell him that.
Oh my God, it was so cute. I thought he was going to cry. There are so many really sweet, tender moments. Like I got a little misty-eyed at some of the people in Altus that they came back. They genuinely were so grateful to everyone that let them film their show, that played a role in the piece of pop culture history that is The Simple Life. So this was a fun little window into their personal lives as best friends and gave us a little bit more color on just how far back Nicole and Paris go as friends. I think so many of us saw them out partying and we thought maybe they were friends later in life, but Mr. Hauser is really our first time getting a sense of their super long history of friendship. Yeah. And, he may have gotten their vibe when they were in elementary school, but he does not get why now they want to throw on an opera.
And so they tell him about their song, Sanasa, and their operatic plans, and he is understandably hesitant. And when asking him how to build an orchestra for their opera, he, interrupts them and asks what style they would consider their music to be, which is a fair question. And Paris responds with hot and iconic.
Love her.
Which style would you classify your music as?
Hot.
Okay.
Iconic.
Okay.
And they ask if he thinks that the conductor for the LA Philharmonic would be available to conduct their orchestra. And poor Mr. Hauser just seems like shocked and like not sure if he's being like punked at this point.
Well, Nicole's like, oh, how about the guy who does the LA Phil?
Yeah. Would he be available? He's like, I don't know. He's a very busy man. Like, and how would he know?
My advice would be you need a conductor. You know,
Who's the conductor? He has black hair, and I think he's like for the LA Phil.
Dudamel. Yeah.
Do you
He's
think
great.
that he would be available?
I don't know. He's a busy guy.
Do you have his number?
That I don't have.
Okay.
Ultimately, the girls thank him again for bringing music into their lives, and he seems really touched. It doesn't really seem like they got anything from this meeting, but it was cute. And next, they go see Kathy, and they go to Kathy's house. They reflect on some amazing memories with her. They even go like further back. When they were so young, Kathy remembered how the girls would put on like plays. And like my friends and I used to do the same thing. I don't know if that was something you guys would do, Kelsey, but
Of course. Isn't it so funny that like all little girls are the same?
yeah, it's like play in the living room 1 hour. Tickets are $5 each. So
And there will be a performance and you better clap like your life depends on it.
Yeah.
And pay attention.
cancel your plans. Theater is in the living room tonight. But the girls tell Kathy about the sanasa opera plan. And Kathy kills me. She like doesn't even know what it is. She'll be like, are you talking about that like ska ska? Like she doesn't even know the word. And Paris is her daughter.
Our famous song,
What is it? Shan. What is it? Scan.
Sanasa.
I just love how like offline she is. She really just does not know. And Kathy's reaction to the opera is realistic. She's like, it needs to be more than just sanasa. Like you can't just have an opera that's just sanasa. But then this is when Kathy kind of goes off the rails.
I'll be the director. We can really make this a pop culture extravaganza. And we could get a magician to come up.
Yeah.
And I'd like to have a little guy running around on a little bicycle. And ferrets will let them loose.
Let's let ferrets loose on people.
Yes! And I like a doorbell ringing. Bang, bang, like a door.
Aligned. We're creatively aligned.
The doorbell thing was crazy.
And Nicole's like, we are very creatively aligned. And Kathy ends this episode being like,
It's an opera. Studio 54 meets Charlie Willy Wonky.
Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of
Phantom
Oz.
of the Opera.
Yes.
I think she would be a great director.
If anyone watches Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, I feel like this was the most animated that I've ever seen Kathy because she's just so excited to be with these girls and it's clear how much she loves them and cares about them. And she's definitely a character in Real Housewives, but she's not this crazy. Not crazy. She's not this animated. And I don't think you get to see this side of her as much. So it was very sweet and fun.
that's the end of episode 1. Where was your head at after this one? Were you like, I'm excited to see where this takes us? Like,
I
what
immediately
next?
went, play next episode. I could not wait. What about you?
Oh, same. Like, it just really brought me back. Their dynamic hasn't changed. The humor hasn't changed. Like, they can be adults and still get into the same mischief and hijinks that they did when they were like teenagers. And to me, that's just like a warm, nostalgic hug. Let's take us right into episode 2, titled, Oh My God, We're Doing an Opera. And it was not until they were doing the recap and I had my closed captions on that I realized for the first time that Alan Cumming is the individual narrating this series. And he just does an incredible job.
I feel like they probably asked for him. If you guys don't know who Alan Cumming is, I mean, he's an iconic actor. He also does like all the Traders.
Yes.
He's like the host of Traders. So maybe he has like a deal with Peacock or something where he's doing all of these. But I agree. I was like, is that Alan Cumming? It gives it the perfect dramatic flair that this show deserves. So the first scene, they are going to a cat cafe and they start making a list of all the things they need for their opera. They got to get organized. One of my favorite parts of this scene is when Paris is just going, I love your handwriting. Your handwriting is so good. And I feel like that's what best friends just say to each other. Like, I love my best friend's handwriting. Steffi, you have the best handwriting ever. It just seems so genuine. And I just love those little moments like that. Anyways, they are writing down all the things they need. Nicole is. They realize they need a lot of things. And Nicole fucking kills me. She goes, So we need a lot of things. This feels super negative. So let's make a list of things we do have. And they only have like one thing, and it's pretty much them and the concept of the song Sanasa. So the next part of their journey is they need to start meeting with producers for the opera. And okay, the people who they meet with are legit musicians.
The first one they meet with is Beth Morrison, and she is, quote, the foremost producer of contemporary opera in America, end quote. Whatever that means. But you can tell the shit is serious. And she asks for the vision of the opera, and Nicole says, it's the story of her in Paris and how different archetypes have tried to pull them apart, but again, they always end up back together, a montage of their lives.
So Nicole's trying to explain to them that they accidentally wrote a hit song when they were 7, and the producer was like, oh yeah, like sanasa, and she knew it from The Simple Life. And they were like, oh my God, you get it. Like, this is our impact. So they also confirmed that they are the ones starring in the opera. And they also want to include all of their pets, which include ferrets, rats, chinchillas, spiders, tarantulas, dogs, and cows. They also want a full orchestra, a full choir, and they also want this all to happen in 3 weeks. And the producer ends up quoting them $1.5 million for the opera, all in. This is what you're looking at. And Nicole makes a fun little quip.
Okay. Yeah. It's like a wedding.
Ha 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 ha. Good joke, Nicole.
So lo and behold, this producer did not agree to produce Sanasa, the opera, which is her loss. So they go to another producer. His name is Thomas Addis. He is a Grammy award-winning composer and conductor.
On their way to meet with this man, Paris is asking some of the important questions.
Is the song Bittersweet Symphony, is that
An opera? No.
Is Moulin Rouge an opera? The movie, or no?
I think so.
So Moulin Rouge is an opera. They're trying to learn more about their craft.
They have these really fun little car montage moments throughout that are so cute. So back to the producer, Thomas. He says he's a longtime fan of Nicole and Paris. So finally, we're working with a believer from the very beginning. We get the sense Thomas wants this to happen.
I love when they started singing Sanasa for him, and he starts like trying to riff along with them and like trying to play a couple keys on the piano. Like they got a little carried away with the Sanasa though, and when they scream it at the end, and that part led to him recommending vocal lessons so they could properly find their range.
Sanasa, 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 sanasa,
We wrote that ourselves.
It might be a good idea to get a bit of professional teaching just to do with vocal production and a bit of find out also about your range, because we just discovered that startled me when you suddenly sang.
As any good producer would do, that's within his job description, I would say. So once Thomas learns, we'll say, the scope of what needs to be done, writing a whole ass opera in 3 weeks, he tries to politely decline. And he tells them, what you guys really need, you need more than me. You need a team. And while he's trying to say no to them, they kind of fast forward through him yapping. Alan Cumming has a really funny voiceover saying this is what it looks like when someone is trying to say no to Paris and Nicole. And at the end of all of this, Thomas is basically like, Paris and Nicole are impossible to say no to. You just have to give in. So we learn he's in. And as they're leaving, Nicole and Paris are sort of debriefing. And Nicole's like, he said no, but it felt like maybe a yes. So at Thomas's suggestion, the next step for them is to get voice lessons.
And we get another great Alan Cummings line.
As any patron of the arts knows, the lifeblood of any opera is the vocal range. But Paris and Nicole's golden pipes have gathered some dust.
I just love his narration. Paris just released an album, so in theory, her golden pipe should still be very golden and not dusty.
I think that's why they don't show her singing.
It's smart. It's probably smart.
And I think that was in her contract. That's why Nicole does all the heavy lifting in this scene.
This is a great scene. They're with the vocal coach, and she takes them through what I would describe some very eye-opening breathing exercises. For example, one of the exercises was, how many times can you say the alphabet using one breath? Paris and Nicole, and likely myself, can do it once, like a normal person, like say A through Z without taking another breath. This coach, I think she did it at least 5 times. I was flabbergasted watching that.
Yeah, that was cray. She was really lovely. She seemed really nice and welcoming and like understanding of their goals, which I appreciated. But you could also see these two girls sitting at the reception desk through the background, and they just kept exchanging these glances like, holy shit, I can't believe that's Nicole Richie and Paris Hilton sitting right there. Which honestly, I feel like I love the fact that they showed people at the Walmart taking photos of them and being excited by their presence, the girls at the reception desk, because it does show that these are two major celebrities.
Yes.
And it shows their impact, you know, that the simple life helped make them into these stars that they are today. I'm really glad that they sort of allowed that breaking of the fourth wall.
The vocal coach, I guess, invites Nicole to try some scales, operatic scales. And Nicole is attempting to do this with her whole chest. She gives 101%.
Ooh, I did it. Yes. It's feeling Hawaiian, and I liked it.
Nicole isn't half bad. I mean, I'm sure it's not technically correct, but I can tell you I would sound a lot worse.
Well, lest we forget that Nicole also has an album. Like, she came out with that whole music video project, like Nikki Fresh. That was her name. And she had like a song about bees and like kale and being a fart. But like my favorite part of this whole show so far is just them trying really hard not to laugh hysterically at themselves and each other. How they keep a straight face doing sanasa with an opera coach.
Yeah.
It's just beyond. So essentially this vocal coach tells them, you know, their singing is very out of tune, but they're not going to let that get them down. No, Paris and Nicole know the next step is they need an orchestra. So they go to an instrument store, a music store. Oh my God. So they're trying all of these different instruments, and Nicole cannot get a sound out of the trumpet.
No, it's got to vibrate a little more. Just make it long.
Okay.
Almost. Not the right formation.
There
that's
I got it. Okay.
That's
okay.
it.
I was like, it's so weird. I'm so good at blowing.
I was dying at this scene. It really sounded like a dying cat. And I got the sense that she was actually trying and getting frustrated, which made it even funnier than her like trying to be bad at it. Well, and then Paris goes on the violin, and I thought she was really good at it. Paris was also so good at the tuba.
I felt the tuba was a little bit better.
So Nicole in this scene is really reminding me of 2007 to 2008 with her silk headband. Oh my God. It is just so, it brought me right back. So they then recruit the instrument store owner or manager to play sanasa with them. So they're playing guitar and he is screaming sanasa. And it was hysterical.
Sanasa, 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 sanasa.
I love him. We see him again later. He was such a good sport. I just loved that energy. They invited him to be in the opera. And, you know, honestly, I felt it could go either way because we didn't get an answer from him prior to cutting to the commercial break, but he was like into it.
So next up, they go to a real life opera, The Little Mermaid, where they're meeting Thomas Addis, you know, the producer from earlier. And they're really trying to seal the deal. They really need to convince him to say yes to their opera at this opera. They are very late and they're way overdressed. They are full on formal dress, updos, everything, but they don't care.
This is like a park opera. Like everybody's sitting on lawn chairs and the girls kind of exchange looks as they're bracing themselves for what is apparently a 2-hour-long performance.
I know, I felt kind of bad for the performers because the way they edited it, they made it seem like the most, like a boring show, or at least that Nicole and Paris were kind of bored during it.
Yeah.
We see Paris fixing her hair on a hot pink flip phone. I Googled this and it is the latest edition of the Motorola Razr.
I love that she has that.
Definitely product placement, but I'm obsessed with it. So at the end of the show, Thomas is like, you know what, ladies, I love you, but I cannot compose your opera for you. And Nicole is pissed, but she gets herself together. She pulls herself up by her bootstraps. She's like, we can do this. We are full blown pop stars.
We'll compose it. We are talented and we wrote this song. So we have to just like dive in and like full blown like pop star believe in ourselves.
And I wish just for a minute that they would bring in Nicole's husband, Joel, aka Joel Madden of Good Charlotte, to like show them pulling in their own resources and like what he would have done. But I also get why they kept it focused on them and true to the roots of the simple life. So next scene, they need outfits for their big opening night because even though they don't have an orchestra, they don't have a producer, they don't have anything, they know they need to look good.
Like you said, they're shopping for an opera that they haven't started yet. They invite the personal shopper at the store to be in their opera, and he happily agrees. And let me say, this is the kind of energy that they need.
I'm so excited about the opera that I heard about.
Do you want to be in it?
Well, I'll be in it. I don't have a singing voice, but I'll still be in it. No problem.
Dance.
I can dance.
Yeah.
I love that they invite everyone to be in it because that is just so them. They really are super inclusive and they want everyone to be a part of their happiness. And I just think that is the funniest thing ever. So obviously Paris and Nicole look amazing in everything they wear. My favorite scene from this was Nicole puts on a silk dress and a fur coat and she says, I feel like I want to slap someone.
And he says, go ahead. And she slaps the shopper. He tries to dress them in like what he would say is like standard opera outfits. And the girls make it very clear that they're not doing a typical opera. They're doing like the opposite, their own thing. So no standard opera outfits for them.
No, not for Paris and Nicole. So after they get their outfits sorted, they know that they need to fundraise and find some investors to fund this $1.5 million opera that they were quoted by that earlier producer.
And by some investors, they went and did a little pitch performance at the Hilton office.
Well, why wouldn't they? They have resources. They got the connects. So as part of their pitch, Sharks, I'm asking, they bring the music store guy back with an accordion and they treat these potential investors to a rendition of their finest sanasa.
So we're doing an opera.
An opera.
Mm-hmm. It's called the Sanasa Opera.
Okay.
It's just like amazing, incredible, show-stopping.
Iconic.
Yeah.
What do you need?
Instead of telling you, we would like to show you.
Okay.
I would like to think Dad's company came through, but the Sharks, the attendees at this pitch meeting, did not seem impressed. But next, they need to figure out their venue. They need to figure out where they're going to house this opera. And they find one where apparently Led Zeppelin has once performed. So it's got history and at least, hey, that is something they can check off their list.
Done and done. Okay, now things are really starting to get serious because auditions are open. They're holding in-person auditions. They also are posting open casting calls to TikTok. We get a really sweet glimpse of Paris's two kids as they're reviewing some of the submissions, which I loved.
How did we miss this and not post our audition?
I know. That's a miss on our end. That was a whiff. Oh my God. And then we got a surprise guest appearance to help with auditions. It was freaking Sia.
And the way Alan Cumming introduced her was so funny.
A quality cast is the lifeblood of any opera. So to help with auditions, Paris and Nicole recruit someone with a notorious eye for talent, whose clarity of vision is unmatched, though somewhat obstructed.
She was a really fun addition to the audition process, like had a lot of fun quips and seemed to really match Paris and Nicole's energy.
Yes, she totally matched their energy. I loved her. At first I was like, just keep it to them. But everyone they brought in as sort of like a guest star was so hilarious and funny. So we're at auditions. See us there. Things are finally starting to fall into place. They have a venue. They get so many amazing opera singers and instrumentalists. They also get these super fans of the show and other talented people. They even got 2 birds, including a cockatoo. And it was just so fun to see all of the super fans there and getting really excited. There was this one TikTok creator named Rollins, and Nicole was like, "Oh my God, you come up all the time on my For You page." And they go on stage and do a fun little dance together.
Wait, this was hilarious. Rollins understood the assignment. He was a highlight for me.
So good. And that was how we left episode 2. Okay, are we ready for the third and final episode?
Yes.
Okay, so this one was called the Sanasa. This is the moment that we've all been waiting for. So we start episode 3 with Paris and Nicole in the car, and they are picking up one of my favorite podcasters ever, Danny Pellegrino of the Everything Iconic podcast. I am truly obsessed with him.
Kelsey, I know you're a stan of his, and how iconic that they picked him to be the master of ceremonies for this opera. Cool.
He is also a ghostwriter for celebrities. He does a lot of celebrity books. So I wonder if he knows Paris and Nicole from that, since they both have books. He has never confirmed like all the people who he's written with. So that's just my guess. That is me just speculating, if you will. So anyways, he's in the back seat, sort of like interviewing them on their way to Sonic. And Paris says, "I haven't been to Sonic since we worked there." And that sentence is just so funny coming out of Paris Hilton's mouth.
And it's the truth, because they did work there, but for an hour or a day. Danny tells them they have the best chemistry in the world. And like, I know that sounds dramatic, but he's like not wrong. They continue to feed off each other incredibly.
Yes, sell and bill. So then Danny asked them, what advice would you give yourselves at 20 and 21 when you were on The Simple Life? And Nicole says, so real.
Having fun and laughing with your friends is one of the highest forms of self-care, as far as I'm concerned. I think you need it in life.
What a profound, true statement.
I loved it. And then Paris was reminiscing on the club culture of the early 2000s and how obviously they could never get away with anything that they used to do then, now because of cell phones. But she said that they would wear wheelies, like those sneakers that had the wheels in them, and skate around the clubs. And Paris said she would bring like her pet bunny to the clubs.
And Nicole said she would bring a ball python and wear her as a necklace. Like, some of the things that come out of her mouth, I think she's a shock jock, and she just likes to like say things deadpan and see how people react. But still, I just freaking love it.
I believe everything that comes out of her mouth. Like, I wouldn't put anything by her. And that's why I think she's so funny, because like you genuinely can't tell what is an act and what is actually her. Oh, I love her so much. And Paris, said it was so freeing going to clubs back then. Nicole said they still have fun now, but they just do it in private. And Paris said,
it's a different type of fun. Yeah. It's just like more about your friendship and like just talking and hanging out.
Yeah.
Listening to sick music.
Yeah.
What are you listening to right now?
Me.
Your new album?
referring to her new album. Again, I love the self-promotion that she does. It is hilarious, but it also comes off as like humble and self sort of deprecating at the same time. It's so funny. So they arrive at Sonic and they are there to create some buzz for their opera, right? They're putting back on their iconic Sonic t-shirts, their aprons, all of the things. And they're back there cooking the food. And Nicole says, cooking is all about feeling it. It's really an emotional thing.
And she says this as one of the workers is putting onion rings in the liquid to be fried. But okay.
Right, like you really got to feel it out. Like it's an emotional process of knowing when and the onion rings are ready. So a customer pulls up to the drive-thru and Nicole's on her little headset and she goes, "Welcome to Sonic. How can I help you, you little bitch?"
Welcome to Sonic. How can I help you, you little bitch?
Oh my God.
Like, oh, I'm just kidding. Okay, so just the slushie. And then they invite customers to their sanasa opera. So then Nicole puts on the hot dog costume. She stands on the side of the road. And this was in the promo that we all saw many months ago and got us so excited for the special to come out. Paris laughing at Nicole is maybe one of my favorite things ever.
I mean, this is their MO. Like, Paris just stands there and giggles as Nicole does something crazy. Nicole's in the costume. Paris is just standing next to her. And she goes, "This is Paris, and my name is Wiener."
This is Paris, and my name is Wiener.
And they're just standing there. And
You're right. Nicole is definitely showboating. She's being like the little court jester for Paris. And I think it's so funny. So I just continue to love how they're promoting this opera, buying outfits, doing all this promotional stuff without having any music, any cast, or any musicians. So their next stop is they take over an LA tour bus to continue promoting the sanasa opera. So imagine if this happened to you and you're on vacation in Los Angeles and fucking Paris and Nicole like walked onto your bus. Oh my God, I was peeing myself. So then we learn on the bus, Dandy's still with them, by the way. We learned that Kesha is there. Yes. And you guys remember Kesha, she was in The Simple Life, and she was recalling how her mom signed the family up for the show because they wanted to find her mom a man. And it turned out the man that Paris and Nicole found for Kesha's mom turned out to be gay later on. So back to the tour, Nicole and Paris are telling all of the tourists all of the landmarks according to them and their personal experiences.
This was the Standard Club, and one time I was running from the restaurant to the club in heels and I tripped and fell on my face. This building right here on the right corner is where Paris and I used to get extensions. This is the gas station where we would get gas sometimes.
They're standing like on the top of the bus talking, and they literally almost get hit by the Rodeo Drive sign while this is happening, mind you.
So then Nicole tells a sweet story where their parents would separate her and Nicole sometimes, probably because they were just so hyper around each other, I have to guess. So Lionel Richie's studio had a balcony that was really close to Paris's mom's house. So they would stand on their balconies with the loudspeakers, much like the ones they're using on the tour bus roof, and sanasa at each other. So back at the ranch, they get on a Zoom with the cast. They're now 5 days out from the performance, and it is the first time that they're meeting with everyone all together. The bird is singing on the Zoom. Nicole is like, oh, well, she's just trying to secure her spot as the lead, and it's working.
Lola is trying to show off already and trying to secure her spot as a lead, and you know what? It's working.
It is working.
And it was very sweet. She's, really hyping the cast up. She's like, we really couldn't do this without each and every one of you, especially because you're available.
We want to welcome you to our first cast meeting. You guys were absolutely the best of the best, and we couldn't not do this without you, especially because you're available.
So one of the cast members asked Nicole and Paris, usually there's music. Usually there's a script that we learn before the first technical rehearsal. And Nicole tells them,
this is a one-word opera.
Will you tell us what the word is, or is it a surprise on the day?
The word is sanasa.
Is what?
Is your word simple?
How do you spell it?
SANASA.
Right here.
God, it was just so funny.
When they were signing off the Zoom with the cast, Nicole's like, everyone get your beauty rest, hydrate your voices, get a spray tan, do your toe hair tweezing.
So we need to make sure everyone gets their beauty rest. You need to make sure your voices are hydrated. And a spray tan is your friend. If you guys have access to red light therapy, do that as well.
I can come over for a home wax if you would like.
Or colonics.
I even do some toe hair tweezing.
Just listing off all these treatments that they could and should. It just so random, so hilarious.
Isn't that everyone's pre-stage ritual?
Yeah, hello.
So next we know it, we're already at tech rehearsal. And if you've ever been in a play, you know how crucial these are. So the opera tech rehearsal is going on, and we see the girls are getting really upset by how it's going. We know how pissed Paris is because her normal voice comes out. Like, she's not doing her baby voice. She is actually holy shit. She's so embarrassed that she says it looks like a school play.
This is it? Are they serious? This just looks crazy. I just had like the sickest concerts in LA and New York, which were like insane. And then I'm gonna do this. It's embarrassing. Like, this just looks like we're about to do like a school play.
So all bets are off. They are like, our name is on this. We need this to be sick. We need this to be a real grand opera. So like, what can we change to make it feel more elevated, more of an experience that is like us as individuals?
Okay, but like what we saw over these last 3 episodes, like what did they expect? Like, can we be real here? What were they expecting to walk into?
Well, I think we needed this moment.
Yeah.
It was humbling. And this really was a turning point in the series. I feel like we needed this moment because it made it feel more real.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know everything up to then is staged, them pretending, they're feigning of not understanding what all goes into this. We know they're smart, they're businesswomen, they're literal moguls. We know they're not dumb, but this seems like a real moment where they were like, holy shit, we actually want this to be good and it's not good. So what do? They call in their teams. And again, Paris's real voice is coming out here. So we know like they are not playing around. And Nicole sums it up perfectly when she's like, we know this was meant to be funny and silly, but it still needs to be good.
The girls admit they have been busy and haven't been able to be as hands-on as they would have liked with the project. So they roll up their sleeves in this final hour and go through the acts and give notes and direct their vision. They are thriving under pressure, baby. And I feel like they leave that tech rehearsal feeling really good.
So crisis averted. It's finally showtime.
They interview fans in line, not Paris and Nicole, but Peacock, the show. And the general consensus is everyone is just so excited to see the girls reunited together for the first time. We see Paris and Nicole backstage with their family. We see Paris's husband, Carter, and the babies. Kathy talks about just how this is like, again, a large scale version of the girls did when they were kids.
This was what they would do when they were little. Not to this extent, but always we want to put on a show. In the living room, we're selling tickets in 5 minutes. Do you remember?
Yes. Now we have our own stage.
And Nicole made a comment that I really liked. She said,
I think the significance of this opera is for everyone out there that chooses to find joy in the journey of life, in like every step along the way.
I just loved that because
it's so sweet.
It is so sweet.
There were definitely parts of sincerity that I think were very strategically and artfully woven throughout the silliness.
Yes.
So it was not too sincere, obviously, but it still had that levity that you want the week before Christmas when everything feels a little crazy.
Yes.
So everybody is on stage and Nicole and Paris are hooked up with these wires. They are suspended in the air and Paris is making the most hilarious noises.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Look down. I'm not looking down.
She's clearly so uncomfortable. She's like, is it broken? Then the curtain opens and they descend from the ceiling and the crowd goes wild. They have the entire chorus behind them in those like gowns that people wear in operas. It looked so legit. You see Kathy Hilton just beaming. They're wearing not totally matching dresses, but very complimentary dresses. They just look incredible. We even see Mr. Hauser in the crowd.
And he just looks so proud.
He was so proud. So then we cut to Act 1. This is called Childhood. This is where we see their bond forged by a shared love of animals and obsession with fast food and insatiable need to break the rules. So these parts of the opera are artfully VO'd by a Mr. Alan Cumming because the only word in this opera is sanasa. So we see Minnie Paris and Minnie Nicole. They're only saying sanasa to each other. There's a bunch of puppets in there because they couldn't use real animals. I think that there was a Tinkerbell in there. There were lots of different kinds of dogs, but there was one with little pointy ears. That was definitely a Chihuahua. And they start a food fight, which must have been a nod back to their earlier days, which is very cute.
And just like in the background, opera singers are very properly singing like sanasa to like a classic opera tune.
They said something like because the songs were so old, they were public domain.
Yes.
Okay, so then we move into Act 2, The Simple Life, and they're reenacting iconic moments with Paris and Nicole playing themselves. Nicole is sticking her arm up the cow, if you know what I mean, to the beat, which was very hilarious. And then a storm comes out of nowhere, and these paparazzi, basically these actors dressed in giant camera costumes, descend on them and try to rip our heroes apart, as Alan Cumming said.
But with fame comes friction, as a gaggle of Wagner-fueled paparazzi descend to rip our heroes apart. Few friendships can survive superstardom, and the evil villains succeed. A friendship is broken.
I love how they depicted this. They said this is, really what happened when they kind of had a bit of a falling out for a period of time.
I thought it was funny because Paris is just kind of like smiling the whole time, whereas Nicole's like overly acting and overly selling it. It just felt so them. So then we go into Act 3, which is called Reunited. Success means little without your best friend to share it with. How true is that? So we see Paris and Nicole, they're sort of texting each other, but going to respond and then deleting it. The little text bubble appears and then it disappears. And then Nicole puts a sanasa distress flare up like the bat signal. And they find themselves back to one another and they're friends again.
Once again, the sanasa opera singers in the background are singing like the whole time, like a classic opera song, just using sanasa. It's actually pretty iconic.
It's so good. I mean, simple but effective.
Yes.
So now we learn that there's some backstage drama. Paris's dressing room door got locked accidentally, and all of her quick changes are in there.
They literally tried to drill their way back into the room, but we kid you not, the drill broke.
I love that there's one scene of her using it herself.
Yes.
It's so funny.
Yes.
I love that also that her husband is just standing there and like not helping at all. So they send Danny out to keep the crowd entertained. They even bring out their super fan Rollins, who comes and dances with the accordion again, played by the man from the music store. It was just so chaotic and funny. You have to wonder if maybe that part was planned a little bit.
Oh.
And then we move into Act 4, which is called Friends Forever. This shows them killing it at work. Nicole's making dresses, a nod to her House of Harlow line. Paris is just being a damn business titan.
They show her like sending texts and emails. And again, the opera singers are singing. They're holding mini Tinkerbell plushies. The attention to detail in this cannot be overlooked.
It was so good. So then the paparazzi come and attack again. They come in from the audience. And Paris keeps smiling while she's being attacked, while Nicole looks like she's doing the most like dramatic poses I've ever seen in my life.
It's truly such good television at this point.
It was just so funny. So then their superfan Rollins emerges from the audience and he's punching all the paparazzi, and they are saved by the power of Rollins' love. So then our opera's over. Paris comes out. She says, "Thank you so much for coming out and celebrating 20 years of friendship, and thanks all the fans for their encouragement and support." It was just a really sweet moment.
Nicole, in true Nicole fashion, says,
"We hope that you walk away from this beautiful opera feeling joy and inspiration, and we want you to feel good and horny."
Oh, Nicole.
Oh, Nicole.
And Paris said,
Sanasa is more than just a song, it's more than just a word. If everyone in the world just sanasa, the world would be a better place.
Honestly, amen to that. And it ends with them singing sanasa with the crowd.
Would you guys join us in a celebratory sanasa? And a 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, Oh, I loved it. I watched all 3 episodes in one night, and I wish that there were more. What were your thoughts, Mary? How would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 5 pink sparkly Motorola Razr phones?
Oh my gosh. I would give it a 4.5. And I will tell you why I did not give it a 5. It's because I wanted more.
Yeah.
It was too
Same.
short. I want a full season of this. I hope they get similar feedback and consider doing more of their silly shenanigans on TV for us.
I so agree. I don't like ignoring who they are now. Like, I think it would have been really fun if they brought in like Cameron Diaz, who's Nicole Richie's sister-in-law now. Like, it could have been funny to incorporate some of their family members. So if they do this again, I think this was such a fun first reunion. And if they're open to doing something like this again, I think that would be a fun evolution of it.
I agree.
Well, that's all we had for you guys today. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to check out our Patreon, which is live now. You can watch the first 3 episodes of OC Season 1 along with us and hear all of our unhinged thoughts and all of the nostalgia that it brought back. So check us out on Patreon. Make sure you're following us at When They Popped Pod on Instagram, and make sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, and we'll give you a shout out in our next episode. Thanks for listening. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Sanasa, sanasa, sanasa.